A lot of games.
A lot of games? Like what? Tell me what type of games.
Wrestling?
Wrestling.
We actually wrestle.
Who sometimes wins? Who's the best wrestler? You? Why is that fun? Why is that fun? Do you ever get in trouble sometimes when you're wrestling? Do your parents ever get you in trouble? No? You guys ever break anything?
No.
So you're good wrestlers, you only break each other, right?
We'll start off with this guy right here. He's Daniel. He's the oldest. He's 9 right now. And he's in 3rd grade. And they all go to Lincoln. This one over here, he's Jaden. He's 8. He's in 2nd grade. And this one's Nathan, and that one's Saul. They're twins. They're 7 years old, and they go to 1st grade at Lincoln.
The father as well?
My name is Yvette, and I'm the mom of these 4 little kids. His name is Jaime, and he's my husband.
Go to beaches?
Yeah, they love the beaches. Like, if we could, we would go, especially to Mexico, like Ensenada, Puerto Peñasco. They loved going to Mexicali, tacos. So we would be at Mexicali almost every weekend, like theme parks that they're saying. Like, they love doing all that, so we would try and do all that with them as much as we could, so we can have a lot of little memories for them and for us as well. Like, they just don't get tired. Like, my parents recently, they were given a trampoline, and I was all excited. I'm gonna build it up, and we're gonna get this going because they're gonna get tired. They're gonna burn their energy off, and we're gonna be good to go. And they can jump there all day, every day, and they'll just go home and keep on wanting to eat, keep on wanting to play, keep on wanting to do every little thing. So I'm like, I'm out. So as soon as I tell them I'm out, I'm gonna go to sleep already, they know that it's already like, okay, we gotta go to our room, and they'll eventually start knocking out one by one. But it's constantly, like during the week also, it's like we have to put them asleep like around 7:30 the latest, so they can go to sleep like at 9. Because it's like, I have to go to the restroom, I have to go to this. They're playing, they don't let me sleep. Like, and you'll just hear them laughing and playing and jumping, and it's just a never-ending story with them. They just have too much energy. Well, actually, that's one of the things that got to me, because like I mentioned, like they're really hyper, like especially him, since he was a newborn, he never really napped. Like, he started taking naps like at a really young age. So they've never like really liked napping or just sleeping or taking breaks or anything. And they're really good eaters and all that stuff. And now going back like on November of 2018, we started like going back at pictures and thinking like back at that time before his diagnosis, he started falling asleep like on the car rides. Like, he wouldn't want to eat as much, he wouldn't want to play as much as the other 3 would, because they still had the full energy and he started having. So I mentioned that to the doctor, and they're like, probably because he's growing and he's just changing and all the changes like the kids go through and the school and stuff. But I still, as a mom, like, I wasn't 100% with that diagnosis that they had given me, that it was basically normal. So he continued going like that, and then December came and he started getting worse and worse, like just sleeping almost all day. So then on December, at the end of December, he started having really high fevers. So, and his pediatrician wasn't in at the time, so, and I didn't want to take him to any other one because, you know, like all that changes and they need to get all this information, and his regular pediatrician already had all his records, so I just wanted to wait before we actually took him to San Diego, because that's where he was diagnosed. The Friday before, at night, my husband was actually in the restroom, and their bedroom is next to the restroom, so he started hearing him choking because they were asleep already. So he went to check on him, and he was choking on his blood because he was having bloody nose, but since he was asleep, it was all going to the back. So he started choking on it. So we took him to the shower, and he started throwing up all this blood clogs and everything. And it went like for an hour. And then after that, he went to sleep. Everything was fine. He woke up on Saturday with another nosebleed that was like for an hour and a half also. But I didn't want to take him here to the ER anymore because I was like, they're not going to do anything. Like, they already told us, like, what to do. So Sunday Saturday night he had another nosebleed. That was the one that scared us the most because it was a 2 hour. It was like for almost 2 hours. So we just threw him in the shower and he was just like bleeding in the shower with the water running because I didn't know what else to do. So Sunday morning came, we got ready because we go to church. So we got ready, we went to church, and they're all usually running at church. Like they already knew, like, and the brothers and the sisters were asking us, like, what's wrong with Daniel? What's wrong with Daniel? Because as soon as he got in, he just went to sit down and he went like this. He blocked out everything. He was having headaches or something, I think, and that's when my husband said, like, you know what? Let's just take him to Rady's. We'll see what they tell us. Like, it's just gonna be something. We were thinking, like, not knowing about childhood cancer or anything like that. We were just thinking, oh, it's just gonna be like an in and out thing. So he's all like, do you want to wait for him? I was like, no, I want to know what's going on with my son. Like, it's something that I need to know. We walked to this room. It was the longest walk ever for me. We walk into a room. There's these ladies there. I don't even remember who they were. I just remember he said, because I think it was like 4 or 5 different ladies. I just remember he said one was like a social worker, another one was like a counselor or something. I really don't remember who they were. I just know that there was like 4 different ladies in there. And they kept on asking me, they're like, do you want to wait for your husband? I was like, no, like, I need to know. Like, I just need to know what's wrong with my son. And they're like, the first thing they told me, they were like, your son has cancer. So no mom, no dad, nobody wants to hear that, especially your son being as energetic as they were, as active as he was, as a happy kid that he was. Like, that's the least thing that you expect. So you start thinking, like, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong for my son to get cancer? By this time, we didn't really know what type of cancer it was. So they're like, so then they told me that they were going to send like somebody out there to stay with the boys. So my husband can go in and so that he can know also what was going on. And by this, I didn't know. I knew cancer existed. I just didn't know how real it was on kids. Because I've had family members that they've died from cancer, but they're as adults, like as older people. So you never think like a little boy being active, like eating healthy, like doing all these things, like he's going to get it. So they just told us there that he wasn't going to be able to leave anymore. He was going to have to be admitted so they can do all these tests and everything, so they can know what type of cancer it was and what was going to be the plans, what was going to be the treatment plan and everything. So from there, January 6th, that day, it just changed our lives completely. So he was admitted. He stayed for 2 weeks. I think by the second day, we were told that the type he had is called acute lymphoblastic leukemia. This one, what they know is that it's the more treatable one. It has the less death rate on children, and it's the most common one on children also. And I don't know how all this works, but what we've learned is that this type of cancer, it's mostly boys get it from ages 4 to
from 2 to
10.
10.
In
Yeah.
between those age range. And for girls, it's not as common to get this type of cancer. And for girls, this type of treatment, it's only a 2-year treatment. And for boys, it's a 3.5-year treatment. For that, we were told that it's because sometimes the type of cancer that he has, it sometimes goes to the testicles. So that's why they do it a 3.5-year treatment instead of 2, other than the girls that they only get the 2-year treatment. Well, he's been in treatment since January 6th of 2019 until now. And the potential date they have for end of treatment is until March 22nd or 24th of 2022.
2022.
So we still have a few months to go. but I want to see it as we're closer to the end that we were in the as soon as when we started. So that's the way I see it, because we didn't know how long he was gonna be staying in San Diego, because that's something not even the doctors knew how long he was gonna be there for. But they said his body started taking treatment right away. Like they didn't have to worry about anything. Like they did transfusions. He only needed platelets for a few platelet transfusion a few times. He didn't need much because it got caught on time also, because we didn't wait it as much.
I heard because a lot of friends and family told us about the Cancer Association. We don't know anything about something like this association exists because you never thought on something like cancer, you know. But that's the way we end up here because a lot of friends, a lot of families told us, you know what, go to the Cancer Association. They help people on this situation. When I hear that he's diagnosed, oh man, my whole world collapsed, man. Everything and crash in my mind, in my life. Uh, it was a a big change in our life, man. But thanks to the association here, they give us the support. They talk to us. They explain us more. They help us in a lot of ways, man.
Yeah, when Melissa called, I was gonna say no because I was scared of going through it all again, because it's just like all the flashbacks. I know it's always gonna be there, and that's something that's always in the back of your head. Like the day he was diagnosed, like that's what I tell everybody. That's the one day that I will never forget, because it changed our lives completely. And I'm pretty sure it's not gonna go back to how it was, even though when he's done with treatment, because he still is gonna have effects of the chemos. He's still gonna have other things that come up. Like his immune system is never gonna be the same again. Like it's just little things that, and it's always gonna be in the back of your head. So that's why I said yes to agreeing with this, because I was like, I wish I would have known more about childhood cancer. I would have known more of associations like this before, which obviously nobody wants to know. Like it's like death, like nobody wants to talk about it, but it's something that it eventually happens. And like for this, I would have wished somebody would have told me, like, you know what, yeah, childhood cancer exists. Like any of your boys can get it. As cruel, mean, or however you want to call it as it sounds, like it's true. Like it might not have been one of mine. It might have been my nieces, my nephews, friends' kids, or somebody else's kids that are close to us. But it was my child, the one that was diagnosed with it. And until now, like everything, especially with the whole COVID, it just changed dramatically also. And after that is when he was also diagnosed with the PSTD, with its depression and anxiety, because when he was diagnosed, we basically had to quarantine because of his immune system. And if we would go out, he would have to. We were basically living COVID style before actually COVID hit, because we had to have the wipes, the Clorox wipes to disinfect everything. We had to have Lysol to disinfect everything. We had to have the hand sanitizers. We had to have face masks, not just for him, but for us also, so we wouldn't get sick and we wouldn't get him sick. So everything that everybody, the new normal that they're calling right now, is something that we had to do even before. It was our new normal for us since the day of his diagnosis. For him, that we had to do it. So it was that whole year that we were quarantined, and like Dan mentioned, they loved going to the beach. We couldn't go to the beaches. We couldn't go to theme parks. We couldn't go out to the stores like every weekend. We couldn't go to Mexicali and eat tacos, which that's something that he misses most, the tacos from over there. And not just him, like we all do, but we can't do it because of him. Because I mean, I could take my other boys, or he can go and take the other boys, but we're in it together. Like, it's not just him. Like I told him, like, it's not just you fighting. We're all fighting with you, for you, so you can do better in life, so you can get better. And now before COVID, he was told, like, 2 or 3 days before they did this whole shutdown, he was told by his doctor that he could start living his life, a normal life now. He can start going to the beaches to Mexico. He can start going to Mexico and eat. He can start going out to theme parks. He can start doing his normal life again. So he comes back home telling everybody and starting to plan this whole family vacation that we were going to go either Puerto Peñasco or Ensenada or somebody over there that he wanted to go. He was planning it. He was calling his aunts, his uncles, his cousins, and his grandparents and everybody. Oh, we're going to get ready. We're going to go. I was told by the doctor, yes, and this and that. And 3 days later, they tell us, like, no, nobody's going anywhere. Like, we're shutting down the whole world. Like, everything's shutting down. How do you explain that to a 8-year-old that he was just told by his doctor that he was gonna, that to keep in mind that he was already in quarantine for a whole year, that he was just told that he can start having a normal life, but then everybody else is like, no, you can't go. You have to stay at your home again. You have to quarantine again. Who knows for how long? So how do you explain that to an 8-year-old for him to understand? And not just him, how do you explain it to the other boys also, which are younger? How do you explain to them that, oh yeah, he was told he can go, but you can't go anywhere anymore. Like, everything's shut down. Before COVID, we would just come without appointments and we would just call them and just let them know, like, you know what, we need help right now. Like, we need somebody to talk to, or we need somebody to talk to him or the boys or anything. They're like, yeah, just come in. And now it's a little bit different because of the whole COVID, which we understand. Like, it's by appointments. So now whenever we need to, or when he needs to, like, he would actually tell me, like, can you call Melissa and ask her for an appointment? Like, I need to go talk to her. I was like, okay. I'll just call her. And I call her, and they're very accessible with the appointments. Like, they take their time with each client that they have, because every time we've come, because he even likes it. He even likes coming here. Like, he has told Melissa way more things that he has even told us. So when Melissa tells us, we're like, wait, what? How did you get that out of him? Like, we have been fighting with him like for a month and we can't get it out of him. Like, how did you do it? So they're really good with the boys, or just kids in general, like just helping them and talking to them, giving them techniques of how to work with the depression, with the anxiety. And like, he knows right now also, like, when he gets anxiety, he knows what he has to do. Because not even I know, like, I'll tell him, well, just go do what Melissa told you. Like, you already know what she told you. He's like, okay. And he goes and he does it, and then he just comes back. He's like, okay, I'm much better. So they do take their time with them and explain to them and try to get them the help they need also. It's a lifetime now. It's a lifetime, because when he finishes his actual treatment, which would be somewhere in March of next year, he has to still continue going. That day he's going to stop drinking his medications. He's going to stop procedures. He's going to stop everything that he's usually doing right now for treatment. But that day, the potential date that they have for end of treatment, that's when he stops all that. But then he still has to go every month is still for appointments. And then from there, it goes from once every 2 months. And then once every 3 months, once every 4th month, until it goes until once every year. But it doesn't end until he's like 18 or 21, because from there we were told that they refer him to a specialist in San Diego. He's not, they say he's not a specialist, but they call him a specialist because he specializes in adults that as children had cancer. So he has to continue going to his doctor. Like, they're like, everybody has to go to their doctors at least once a year, which some we don't. Like, you, not even the doctors, not even nurses, like, they don't go for the regular checkup once every year. But him, since he already had cancer, for him it's mandatory to go once every year. As long as CRDC wants us here, because I mean we're comfortable with CRCD, and like there's other agencies out there that they help also, but they don't help. At least for me, I don't feel like they've helped as we needed to, because for them sometimes we'll call and you leave a message and they never come back, or they'll tell you, oh well yeah, we'll help you, but they never tell you when or how or what. And CDRCD, when they tell you, oh yeah, we'll help you, what do you need, they'll actually ask us like, what are your needs? And sometimes we'll say like, you know what, well we need gas this month because we're not gonna be able to make an appointment if we don't have, because it gets expensive just going, and then just like with his treatment and stuff, because it's not just the cancer treatment that he's receiving, because other things comes up. Like right now he was also diagnosed with low bone density, because he had 2 fractures already in not even a 6-month span that he had 2 bone fractures. And from there is where they did this other exam that he was diagnosed with the low bone density. And he's also getting checked for his heart, because he says he's having like heart beating like really fast and stuff. So it's other appointments that come with it. And sometimes we're like that we have to go like 3-4 times within a month. Where like we'll just call them like, hey, we need money for gas. They're like, okay, come, we'll give you, by when do you need it? Like we'll get you like card gas. Like how many do you need? We'll give you whatever you guys need. Or they've even helped us like pay a rent, because sometimes like it gets that expensive that you can't even afford rent, or like you might afford the rent, but if you pay for rent, like you're not gonna be able to buy the food, or you're not gonna be able to just go to San Diego with his appointments, or just do other things that you need to do. And CDRCD, they're always there, like just by a phone call. But yeah, we just want to say thank you to all of you that have donated in any way that you guys could possibly. It has helped, and does help a lot, because it is, I don't want to say a burden, but it does take a lot of time, money, to be going to treatments, and like being able to afford like the 4 kids and just the home. And I had to stop working so I can stay home, so he's the only one working right now. So that's another thing, because I was working also, we were both working, so I had to stop working, so it was only one income now. So yes, we are so thankful from the bottom of our hearts for everything you guys do. Like you mentioned, like without knowing the people that you're helping, that you're giving it with your heart, with your soul, that it's money that you earned with your hard work, like, and you're just giving it without really knowing. It does help. It does help, because we've seen other agencies that, and we've heard also of other agencies that they, from donations that they get, they keep a percentage. And CRDC, they don't do that. Whatever they get, they give to the kids. They give to the families. Like even my other boys, they're not in treatment, but they, for Christmas when they do activities, they've gotten gifts. Like sometimes we just got in random calls from here. They're like, oh, are you available? We have a bag for your kids. Like, and we'll just come and pick it up, not knowing what it is. And it's toys, it's blankets, it's things that you don't really expect. And sometimes like the kids even say like, oh, I've been wanting this for so long. So we're like, thank you, because we don't know, and we can't afford it because of everything that we're going through. And it is such a blessing, like for everybody that donates, like you mentioned, like without knowing the families that you're actually helping. I tell my husband, I don't know how yet, but I want to wait until treatment's over for my son, so I can have a little bit more time to be able to do more for the community also. Not just to give, but to do things, to do researches, to help, or even here at the CRDC, help them in whatever activities they do for the kids, because they do a lot. It's not just that they give, they do activities for the community also, to come, and like for Christmas, for the month that's Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, like they try to keep us busy and the kids busy also, so that way it's a little bit of distraction and not just focusing as much as like, oh, my child has cancer and like we can't do much. No, like they go out of their way, like they take their time, because sometimes they do it on the weekends, they do it random days that it's not their work hours, but they're still doing it, and they're doing it with all their heart. And even the other volunteers that go, like, I'm not sure if they have families that have gone through it or not, but they still they still manage to help. And that's something that we want to do. As soon as we're done with treatment, we want to put the word out there, like it is real, it exists, like, and there's agencies like CRDC that they go out of their way to help and to give whatever they can.
It's more than a donation.
My name is Melissa Lizarraga. I'm the Assistant Director for the Cancer Resource Center of the Desert. With the Cancer Resource Center of the Desert, not only do we service or provide services for men and women, we also provide services for children. With the children, it's a different set of challenges, just because you're not only dealing with one individual, you're dealing with the entire family. They come in crisis. The parents, when they're first told that their child has cancer, it's something that no parent wants to hear, and they don't know where to start. They don't know who to turn to. It's an isolating type of diagnosis, and our goal is to help them through this journey, and also help them understand and educate them and empower them that they can help their child through this, and we will be right alongside of them while they do it. Childhood cancer is something that I think our community is not very, they kind of know that it's there, or sometimes they don't know, and they don't realize or understand the challenges that come with childhood cancer. It is a hard topic to cover because it's uncomfortable, it's unknown. It's something that people never want to see a child sick. When your child has a fever or a cold, it's like freak out mode. Now, when they have a threatening illness that can potentially kill them, it's a whole different ballgame. It is emotionally, it does take a toll on us as social workers because they're little kids. We don't ever want to see that. It's hard enough with adults. Now with the child, it's you have to explain the diagnosis to them sometimes. You have to first educate the family so that they can also educate their child. And the children sometimes ask, why do I have to go to the doctor again? Why do I have to get blood drawn again? We had one kid that when she came in, she looked terrified to come into our office, and her question was, are they going to take my blood here too? And things like that, you're like, oh my God, like, no, we're not. Like, here's some Legos, we're gonna play with you for a little bit. It is something that's difficult for us. The good thing is that we have a really great team and we have really great support, within our own team. So this is what makes it a lot more bearable for us to handle. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, the emotional toll that it takes on them, think about it. They are sometimes inpatient treatment for months on end. So it's just literally them and one parent at Radies for, months at a time. We've had children in the past who have had a whole year of inpatient treatment. And getting out of that hospital setting and then transitioning into a school setting, it is very different. It's a whole different life that they now have to adapt to versus other children who don't have to go through that. So for us, it's important to communicate with the school. One thing that we always ask the parents when they come in is, okay, who knows about this? Has the school been informed? What do they know? What do they understand? Because it's not just simple as, here's some homework packets, work on this. It's different. Whenever they do go back to school, there's different things that need to be put in place for that child because their learning is going to change. Their memory is affected by this treatment. For many adults, if a lot of people know what's called chemo brain, it's the same thing that happens for children. Their learning changes. Sometimes you had this child who was a straight A student, or they were constantly participating in class and they were super social and they had all these friends, and then when they go into treatment and then come back out and try to live that same life, they sometimes don't adapt as the same because they can't play the same way either. They're very limited. Some of these kids, the treatment, the toll that it takes on their body, it damages their bones. So a lot of them have weaker bones than normal kids. They cannot play, they cannot run, they cannot kick a soccer ball and fall and get up and be okay. Sometimes that ends up in a fracture. Sometimes that ends up, in a bloody nose. It's a different setting now for them. It's a different life for them that they now have to adapt to. So with us, what we do is we communicate directly with that school and let them know. We speak to the school psychologist to let them know. And then what we do is we come together with that parent when that parent is ready and the child is ready to go back into school. We establish a plan for them in school. It's called the 504 plan. So that plan allows for everybody who is involved in that child's education to understand their limitations as far as learning goes, as far as playtime goes, depending on what grade they're in. Also, like if PE is something that they're required to do, sometimes they cannot be out in the sun, and where we live it's like 120 degrees all the time. So they cannot be out there like other children would. So it's a constant education to the schools and to the teachers. If they're not paying attention or if they're falling asleep in class, it has nothing to do with the fact that that's a bad student, and everything with the fact that maybe the night before they couldn't sleep and they probably fell asleep till like 1 a.m. And these children are now having to utilize melatonin or sleep aids to help them sleep. And it's because of all the side effects of that treatment. So specifically with the Xpata family, we help them with accessing Social Security. That's another big thing whenever children are diagnosed. If it's a 2-parent household and they're both working, it usually requires for one parent to stop working and the other one to continue work while, mom or dad are up in treatment with that child. So their income is going to drop. And what we don't want is for them to be, in debt or not able to pay their rent, bills, whatever it is that they need to pay. So accessing Social Security or any of those other resources that are in place for them, that's something that we help them mobilize, and we walk them through the process of it. We communicate directly with Social Security. We have a really great relationship with that office. So anytime that we call on behalf of a child, they know, okay, we need to move on it quickly. And we also have helped them with national resources. With cancer, if you have a very specific type of cancer, there's usually resources that are available to that cancer. So that's something that we've been able to mobilize with them. We've also helped them, gas cards, or helping them understand their insurance and also what they're able to garner through their insurance. It's all about leverage, really, and just utilizing all those resources. The biggest resource that we have for children is Halos and Tiaras, and that's another nonprofit here in Imperial County. Whenever a child is diagnosed, they have to stay up there for probably a week, 2 weeks. So what Halos does is they turn around, write a check to the family so that they can utilize that for hotel expenses, food, gas, whatever it is that they need on the initial end. Working closely with the El Centro Elementary School District, they've been great with just bringing in all the resources, emotional resources for Daniel, and then also on the learning side. They've really given him that one-on-one attention that he's going to be needing moving forward. And just to make sure that he feels comfortable in asking for help. That's the biggest thing too. The community is responsible for us being able to continue to do this work for our patients. We are completely separate from any state or government agency. We're a nonprofit. So we depend on donations from, here, our community, to keep us open. And so a way for that is fundraising through, the Desert Lily campaign, which this year looks a bit different because of the pandemic. but we are a total of 7 clinicians. We all are master's level trained social workers. So whenever the family comes to us, they don't only get one person, they get an entire team. Whereas if I don't know something, I know, my coworker is going to know, and we're all going to figure it out. And I like to call us one big brain because that's just what we are. The patients don't get one person, they get the entire team. And not only our knowledge, but our heart, I think that's what separates us. We are the only agency that does provide this type of service specific to children, and even as a whole to men and women. We truly care about the well-being of our patients and their families. So if there's any little thing that we can do, it can be as simple as a gas card to as big as communicating with the school and moving all these resources for them, we will do it. One thing that people don't really fully understand when it comes to cancer is that, they take for example a child and they lost their hair during treatment, and now maybe their treatment isn't as heavy, so their hair starts to grow back. One comment that a lot of people make is, oh, he's fine now, or she's fine now. Her hair grew back, her color is back, because that's another thing. Their skin changes. They look a little pale, yellowish, and they don't look like themselves. Whenever, some of the chemotherapy gets reduced, or, certain chemicals get taken out, or certain drugs get taken out, their appearance will start to change. Maybe their hair will grow back, their eyebrows will grow back, their skin tone may kind of go back to what it used to be like. Some of the things or the comments that people will say is, oh, he looks better now, he's good, he's fine, he finished treatment, so that means it's over. And no, it's not. Unfortunately, that's usually when you start seeing all the long-term side effects of chemotherapy take place. And, the memory issues, the, weaker bones. Some of them have their bone density scans. They come lower than normal, so they have to be extra careful with, what they do, activities, sports. Also the emotional piece. A lot of these kids, they've gone through something that us as adults can't even comprehend because we've never been through it. Whenever I work with the children, the biggest thing that comes up for them is that anxiety piece. And some of the questions that they've asked is, am I gonna die? Is it gonna come back? So, how are you supposed to tell them, no, it's not gonna come back? You have to be honest with them, as honest as possible, as much as it's going to hurt you when you're having that conversation. But it's their right to know. It's their right to understand what is going through their bodies. It's difficult to explain because this isn't something that they teach you in school, unfortunately. Nobody teaches you how to tell a child, you have cancer and this is what's going to happen to your body, or you're done with treatment, this is what you're going to probably expect. Or even, you can't reassure them that this is not going to come back, because for the time being, you're healthy, you're doing great, but you just never know. It's something that can come back, later on in life. And it's not coming from a place of being pessimistic. It's just a place of being realistic with these kids and explaining it to them in a way that they're able to understand. The biggest thing that I've seen too is sleep disturbance. So they have difficulty sleeping because of that anxiety. So something that we, help them do is develop healthy coping skills. And what is it that you're going to do when you do start feeling that anxiety at night where you can't sleep? Who are you going to communicate that to? So the easiest, or not easiest way, but I guess the best way to explain this to a child is, let's think of your happy place. Let's create a world here and here where you feel safe and where nothing's going to harm you during that time, so that you can go to sleep. So when it comes to the kids, that's probably another difficult piece. that people don't even realize what these families are going through. There's still a lot that goes on even after treatment. It doesn't stop when, you know, that Mediport gets taken out. It still continues on until they're 18. They're still having to see specialists because, you know, as they grow older, their bodies may not go as expected. They may still have that, you know, those weaker bones, or their hormones tend to change. Fertility is also an issue for some of these children. So those are all things that people don't understand simply because they're not in this world. And that's where we have to do our due diligence in understanding their diagnosis, their treatment plan, and being able to educate them and the family in ways that they can understand, and also in ways that they feel comfortable asking their physicians questions. You know, if something isn't clear, I think that's the biggest piece with us. We really want to empower that person to ask questions, because, you know, it's like if I go to the doctor and the doctor's just giving me all these instructions and questions, no. And then I walk out of there and I have like a million questions. It's the same thing for, you know, some of these families. And we work with them so that they do feel like this is my right as a patient to ask these questions, and that they don't feel scared and they feel confident in what they're asking.